So this first part of STEM Digital is about creating an online profile. So it's about when people search for you or for someone like you, not your name necessarily, but a researcher like you in your field, that they find what you want them to find, whether that's your own details or whether you want to maintain a lower profile. So this module really is not about social networking as such, it's much lower level. It's about where you can put information about yourself online, how to make it visible or not visible if that's what you want, and how to manage your online footprint, because we've all got one. So we'll also be looking at issues such as what's the bare minimum that you can get away with doing online to manage your own online footprint, because it's not possible now to ignore it completely. Even if you want to stay invisible, there's actually quite a lot of work involved in monitoring information that other people put about you online. But if you want to make yourself more visible, of course, you have to make sure that the information that you want people to find is out there and is easy to find. So this first module will be looking at issues such as how much do you need to engage, what are the principles of being visible or invisible online, and really is it something that nowadays we can afford just to leave to chance. So over the course of 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at a number of things. In week 1, we'll be looking at creating your online identity. So things like when you're setting up a profile, what kind of information it would be helpful to input so that people can find what you want them to find. That might be what kind of username you use, whether it's your own name or some kind of pseudonym, profile pictures, the security of the data that you put online and what you don't need to fill in, and what happens to that data, how it's kept safe. We're looking at password protection. We'll move on after the first week to looking at basic search engine optimization, SEO. So looking at the algorithms that search engines like Google use to prioritize certain kinds of information so that you can either bring your profile up the Google rankings or bury things that you don't want to be seen by other professional contacts. In the third week, we're going to be looking specifically at the academic web. So bibliometrics, the area where you can make sure that papers that you've written, books that you've written, contributed to, are actually associated with your name, because that's certainly something that as an early career academic we want to make sure happens, that when people are searching for us they don't come up with a whole other pile of papers which were written by somebody with the same name but is a completely different individual, or that papers we've written with slight variations on the name that we've used, whether it's our first name, last name, or whether we've used our middle name, whether we've changed our name, whether we're using different versions of our name in different languages, that all of those different authors are collated under ourselves so that people know exactly what we've written and what we haven't written. We'll move on in the final part of this series into how to create your own web space wherever you want that to be, whether it's using the web space that the university gives you effectively or whether it's setting up your own personal web space. And we'll be looking at how you might adapt a blog format such as this one hosted on WordPress to either create a sort of online CV that you can use and adapt how you want it to be, or whether you want to use it as a blog, as something a bit more dynamic. So those are the kinds of tools that we'll be covering in this first part of the module. So the stress really will be, how do you get information about yourself out there, how do you get it visible, and how do you make sure that people are seeing an appropriate professional version of you online.